Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Don C. I'm alcoholic, and I'm just really honored to be with your group again. I I'm always touched by what goes on here in your format. It's very very powerful. And my elders, they say that whenever people get together for spiritual reasons, they said one of the things we should do is always take time to connect with each other. And I guess that matches our program because it says we. We means we're connected. And in our language, when we talk about that same subject, we have a word for it, and in our language, it's called netashniha. And what that word means is, have you ever noticed, like, when you look someone in the eye, then a second later, there's a feeling goes across. Then you nod. Like right now, almost this whole screen, you all nodded, like this. So in our language, that's connection. It's called netashniha. The closest I can understand what it means in English is it means the touch of love. Is that when we look at one another, that feeling is there, then the other person can feel connected. And then your words are medicine. Your words they have meaning when you say things like that. And one of the ways that I was taught to do it was we use our medicine. And so I always like to light the sage. And what we do is we believe that the powers comes out in the smoke. All of our plants have medicine. We have to know, how do you get the creator to bring out the power? Some plants you grind up, some you soak. This one you light. And so what we do is, today I'm using my white eagle feather. I like to use this for the step 11 that we'll be talking about tonight. And so we run the smoke on the bottom of the feather like this, and then we send it out like this. And this medicine, the elders tell us that when we do this, is that center is everywhere. Whatever happens here, when it comes to the spiritual world, it happens there. And so I didn't mean to offend anyone by doing this, but this is the way I was taught, that when we come together for spiritual reasons, this is what we should do. Take that time to connect with each other. And some years ago, I was asked to come to Alaska by a group, and they were bringing in the young Native Alaskan teenagers, kind of, and they wanted them to be attending something around leadership. And so it was a 3-day program. And so we got through one day. And at the end of the day, when we closed the day down about 5 o'clock, one of the young men stood up and he said, "All the eagles stand up." Well, in Alaska, my understanding, they have two major clans, an eagle clan and a raven clan. So a number of the kids stood up, and then he gave kind of a recap of what went on that day. And then he sat down and they all sat down. And then one of the young women, they said, "All the ravens stand up." So they stood up. And then she gave a recap of what went on that day. And that wasn't on the agenda. And it took a little while to do that. And so anyway, that night I was having dinner with the sponsor, and I said, "I noticed that wasn't on the agenda." I said, what was that about, that those young people did that?" And she said, "A long time ago in our villages," they said, the young ones, they weren't allowed to speak. But at the end of the day, they would bring those young ones forward to the guests that arrived in the village. and they would give a recap. And the reason for that is they wanted their guests to know that their words didn't fall to the ground. They wanted to know those words that I spoke, they was listening. And that's just what they were taught. I thought, what a beautiful thing to do to young people, to have them do that. And one of the things I learned from that is when I give one of the talks like this, or I share, what you will notice is that I wish I knew something brand new would help, but I don't. What I have learned is all what you guys have taught me. And so at the most, I will attempt to let you know that your words didn't fall to the ground. I listened when you said, keep coming back, I did. And when you said to work the steps that would help you stay sober, I did. And when you said you need to continue going to meetings, you have a disease of alcoholism, I did. And so last August 10th, I celebrated my 46th year of sobriety. And thank you to all of you. I'm still listening to what what you've taught me, and so I'm going to just repeat back what you already know, and so that's the way that it will be. And I have gone through. I was taught by the ones that took me through the work early. I was taught to go through the work every year. Not everybody does that, but that's how I was taught to do that. And so of the 46 years, I have been through the work 39 times. There's some years I didn't. My sister passed on. I just couldn't do some things. And but anyway, uh, what I found is seems like AA is like a wisdom cloud. I remember I came in here and it's like that cloud rained down some things that first year, and I made it my first year of sobriety, thinking I knew everything. And then the next year, I went through going to meetings, and pretty soon that wisdom cloud, it rained a little bit more. And I read the book, and I'd swear somebody put new sentences in the book. I didn't see them first time through. That's how it seemed. And so each year, that's how it seems. I go through this work, and I learned something I didn't learn before. And my last journey through the steps, I discovered something that probably all of you knew all along, but it was my first aha or awareness, whatever, is ever since I was a little kid on the reservation, and there was always people telling me what was wrong with me. And I got that, my mom would say it, my dad would say it, and teacher would say it, and counselor would say it, and, work and go through environment, bosses would say it, you have performance appraisals, and everybody says it. And so when I come to the AA, they said, well, here's a set of steps, and one of the things that's going to help you do is find out what's wrong with you. And then when we find out, there's the steps that are going to tell you what the name of that wrong is, and it's called a character defect. In other words, you're defective. And that word defective always irritated me. I don't know what it was about, because you'd see cars were defective, and there were other things they called in was defective, and here there was something wrong. A couple of years ago, I went to this work, and what I learned from the wisdom cloud was I was looking at the wrong thing again. And what I was supposed to really be looking at was what happened to me. I wasn't supposed to be looking at what was wrong with me. And what I found out is when I look at what's wrong with me, actually, there never, ever was anything wrong with me. Never. But when I looked at what's wrong with me, it comes with a package of some guilt and shame. That's what's wrong with you. And so I always had that kind of a based look going through the work. And what I found out was there was nothing wrong with me, but did stuff happen? Yeah, crap happened. That's true. Was I sexually molested? Yes, I was. Did I drink and did I do things wrong? Did I? Yes, I did. That's because of what happened to me, not because of what was wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. God didn't make us that way. And it was such a relief to go through the work, not looking at what was wrong with me, but looking at what happened. And this stuff is still happening. And so what I found out was I I I substitute frequently. I don't like the word character defect. What I found out when something happened to me, it caused me to have thinking errors. I just started not thinking right. Even thinking fear, thinking scared, thinking this, that's not defective. It's something that I need to help change my thinking to make corrections, but I'm not a defective Indian guy, you know. And I kind of like the idea in of being that way. So when I talk about step 11, that's how I approach it now. I don't look in there what's wrong with me. I'm looking at that as what happened to me during this day, what happened to me, what's going on, not looking at what's wrong with me. Because I used to do that. I'd make a mistake and then I'd say, what's the matter with you anyway? How can you be so stupid? Stupid. You have stupid attacks. And I would go along and just be talking to myself, for a long time, about what was wrong with me. So this is my latest trip through step 11. Is I found out the steps are really, they're interconnected with each other. Steps they're numbered separately, but they're like a web. They're connected with each other. So when we do step 1, when we're done, it gives us the power to do step 2. Doesn't give you the power to do step 4. 2 gives you the power to do step 3, and then it goes all the way on up. Each step seems, my experience is, to give me the power to do the next step. So what I kind of learned about step 11, my latest trip through step 11 is I found out all of my thoughts will go into 2 systems, 2 categories. One place my thoughts go is in a love system. The other place my thoughts go is in the fear system. And there's not a third system, but exists love and fear. And I didn't know this in the beginning. So this is something I got from the cloud later on. And so what I found in the morning when I wake up, I used to wake up in the morning and I look at the clock and I go, oh my God, it's morning. What I learned now is I don't say, oh my God, it's morning now. I say, good morning, God. So there's a difference. Then what I tell him next is I say, I'll meet you at the coffee pot, because I'm not awake when I jump out of bed. So I make this little arrangement and say, okay, I'll meet you at the coffee pot. Because I learned for me to get into that love system, there's 5 things out of the morning meditation that gets me there. This is what it says. The first experience I had with step 11 was I thought that if I read it out of the book on Awakening to This, I just read it. And I thought I was doing step 11, my life to change. Then Johnny Looking Cloud, who was helping me, he said, it's not about reading it. He said, those are instructions, you got to do it. And I went, oh, now that was different. So what he taught me was, on awakening, that's not when I get out of bed. That's when I have that first sip of coffee and I tell the Creator, I'm ready. Today, what I look at is I want to get into the love system. That's why I want to start my day. So the first thing it says, you think about 24 hours ahead. Today, how I look at that is that is where what is my to-do list. I don't know what's the matter with my throat here. But anyway, oh, I got to change the oil in the car. I got to call my grandchild. I got to do this. I got to do that. So that is the day, the part where I look ahead. So my mind says, and next week you got to go to, no, don't go there. You just left the instruction. This is just today. So I had to practice. I'm still practicing because sometimes I get so excited to jump out of the day, especially if something really cool is going to happen next Saturday. You know, one of my grandkids are coming over. I'm going to do this. And I'm going. It's hard to not say what I'm going to do. So I toy with it. The goal is to make my to-do list for the day. Then the next thing that it says is on awakening, think about 24 hours ahead. Then it says, we consider our plans for the day. That used to be where I made my to-do list. The cloud had me change it. In the evening meditation, one of the things at the very end of it is that you ask God for forgiveness, and then you ask what corrective measures should be taken. And you go to sleep. So I believe this is the instruction where you continue to plan what I'm going to be, not what I'm going to do. So suppose I was really a jerk yesterday, and I go through that nightly review, and I ask forgiveness and I ask for the corrective measures. Very often they'll come up and say, today I intend to be kind. Today I'm going to intend to be patient. So this is where I develop my character over a long period of time. Even taking a look at our character, long-term sobriety, how do you want to be? You want to have long-term sobriety and you don't work steps, you just go to meetings and sit there or what? So even long-term. So Johnny Looking Cloud, he's the one who helped me with this. So very early in my sobriety, I chose to, long-term in my sobriety, I want to become a peaceful warrior. That's what I want to do. I want to be a warrior, but I want to do things through peace, through calm, not through kick and rear like I used to do in the bar that don't work anymore. I had to do it, see, in this way. So I continue to develop myself, consider my plan for the day. So I always got a corrective measure going from the nightly review, if that makes some sense. So two things, I'm not in a love system yet. Think about 24 hours ahead, then I consider my plan for the day. And then the next thing it says, before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking. My concept of God has changed a lot over the years. And a couple of years ago, I was struggling with step 2. And I could not find that place to come to believe. What came out of that, I struggled. And I took this to one of the elders and they said, your God is too small. That's how come you're struggling. And so I asked them, I said, all right, I said, you guys have always been known, you're so spiritual, you do ceremonies, you can walk on water, kind of joking with them, but they're known for their spiritual uh, abilities. And I asked them, I said, how did you make your God big? What did you call him? What did you say? And to my surprise, one of them said, well, they said, when the Europeans came here and they took us to their schools to teach us, what they taught us is that God was a man. And they said, we never looked at God as being a man. That's not how it was. And I wanted to say, in the big book, it says God's man, it says his father, third step. Here's the father, we're the kids. That's where my little sarcastic mind, was going. And so we had a long conversation with I talk about 8 elders. And I kind of got depressed because I felt I was very spiritually, very much in tune. I could light my sage. I could ask the Father to help me, and I was very comfortable with it. And all of a sudden, these old people are saying, "Well, that's not exactly, you know." So I started to search for something I could grasp according to how the elders were talking about. Was how do you not make God a man or a woman or whatever. And the closest I came to was Emmett Fox. Emmett Fox has a little booklet he wrote about the aspects of God. And it's not about being a gender. And how I remember these 7 things is I was playing around with the first initial of each of those 7 words. And what it came out with is kind of a word called still please. STIL, still PLS. That's the way so I could remember what those 7 were, because it matched what the elder said. So the S, what it means, that the creator is a spirit, not a human, is a spirit. And so that spirit is everywhere. It's not like you got to go to some building to say or whatever. And I still struggle with that because over those years of sobriety, I made my father one of the best, kind, forgiving, helpful people that you could ever. He was the best, but he's still a human. So I always had superhuman traits that I give to him. This is just my experience. So I had to switch to say is a spirit, not fully understanding exactly what that meant at first. ST means this entity, it is the truth. That not that he knows it. He is the very truth. That's how the elders, why they were so smart when they went into ceremony, they would come out and they were so strong what they said because that thing told them the thing let them experience the truth. That's where they got their power from. STI. It stands for intelligence. They believed the creator made everything. What is it that you can take a darn seed that you can have in a basket for 10 years? You go outside, you plant it in the ground, psh, that seed takes off and grow. What in the hell makes that seed grow like that? What keeps the cycles going? What makes the salmon swim just when the bears wake up and they're hungry? What makes I started to see there's a synchronicity and intelligence system that I had direct access to. Can you imagine having access to the direct intelligence system of the whole universe, and I'm a drunk. And I have the ability to sit down and connect to this. Does that intelligence system, is this the love system? You bet it is. That's what it is. STIL means life. It is the life system. It's why plants grow. It's why flowers grow. It's why birds swim. It's why it is the life. Water is life. It has an energy. It has a life force in it, everything. And so it's a life system. So I had to look at things differently. Then STILP means principle. That's in the big book. It says the creator's principle. And then L means love is the other L. So it's a love system. So I'm entering the love system. And it knows the truth, and it knows intelligence, and it knows. And then S, it stands for soul. How I interpret that, it means in some of our cultures, we call something called a shapeshifter. It can be a flower, or it can be the air, or it can be the bird. It's still spirit, but it just takes different shapes of forms. But the spirit is in everything. That's what we call the soul. So we're individual, but we're connected, if that makes some sense. So when I do this, part to ask God to direct my thinking, I just don't say, okay, this morning, God, direct my thinking. I say, okay, who I want directing my thinking today is I want it to be a spirit. Today, I want to know the truth. Whatever happens, let me see the truth. I need the intelligence to make decisions. Stuff is going to happen. I want you to be that guide in my thinking. I want to know about life, principle, love. Show me. Then I say, this is who I want to direct my thinking. It ain't a daddy. It ain't a father. It ain't a man. It ain't a woman. It's this, what I want to do. Direct my thinking. Then it says, by the way, you're going to ask to be divorced from three things: self-pity, dishonesty, and self-seeking motives. Divorce means like divorce. It don't mean to hang out together after you're divorced. It means you ain't together no more. You ask him to divorce you from that. And on many occasions, even this last week, I have to add one that is a issue for me, especially I somehow get trapped into watching news and I see what's going on TV and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to mention anything but politics, but I gotta sometimes get help in controlling my overthinking. Because all of a sudden I hear this, what they're going to, and I start thinking. So what I learned is, in how the elders called these entities was, they call them helpers. So sometimes if I see I'm going to have a problem in the morning, I'll ask I says, I need three of the helpers today: intelligence, love, and life. If you three could come help me, watch out for me today, because we all know I can do things stupid. So I really need this kind of direction from this power that I have. That's what it says. And so it's by the 24 hours ahead, considering your plan, direct your thinking, asking for the divorce of those things. Now I'm in the love system. So now it says, go ahead and think. Our thinking has the ability to create actions. Those actions is what produces results. those results are measured by consequences. So if my thinking is in harmony, the consequences are good. If my ego is directing my thinking, then I got this little plan I'll give it even with you. I'll show you. And then it makes me get a little action plan going. And I'm going to do this right behind your back, and you will never know it. And I'm going to tell so-and-so this. And then there's consequences. So what it is asking is, in my head, is I'm asking the creator to guide that. 7 ways. What's in there, Johnny Lookgod used to say, my head was like an inner ghetto. He says, it's not good what's in there. He said, Eric, because every time you go in there alone, he said, you mug yourself. And he said, you really need some help. So this is the guidance that I do. So once I do that, I don't go around anymore saying, well, is this God's will? Am I supposed to turn left? Am I supposed to turn right? Well, how about this? Should I go up? Should I go down? Should I buy this? Should I don't have that talk because I'm assume I'm in the love system. It says, go ahead and think because your thinking is on a different plane. And that's true. Then we also say, no, that if we do this work for a while, there's some other things that helps us in step 11. One of the things it says is available to us is that we have the ability to carry a vision of God's will in every area of our lives. Got to do the work, but that possibility, can you imagine knowing God's will in every area of your life? You wouldn't have to think too much if you know that's really how it is. Well, it says that possibility exists for us. Then not only that is, it says we have the ability to develop a 6th sense. We got 5, we can develop another one, 6. In that 6th sense, it has 2 tasks. One is to spot opportunity and to avoid disaster. So it's like a little radar system. Spiritual radar. Guided by 7 things. Truth, intelligence. And from what I can tell, it's only good for one day. I can't ask on Sunday for the 7 things and count on it to be there every day. That don't work. Every morning I got it. Okay, here we go. I say, what's what God in my life? Down, and I list all 7. So what I found out is I have the ability to slip into the fear system. And what the book says, there's a line to go from love to fear. And what the book says is watch for irritation or doubt. Excite the feelings, that's irritation or doubt. That's like a little flag or both together. And so it says, you've just left the love system, now you're in the fear system. Now, what I had to learn was this is I didn't know for a long time that character defects work in teams. They don't work alone. Well, when you do inventory, you got a little column, anger, fear, jealousy, you know. But I found out they work in teams. So when I slip into that fear system, the first thing happens is I notice I'm a little irritated. You irritate me. So I look back at that bench where all the character defects set, and I say, hey, anger, come on in here. I think I got him going. So anger comes into the toothpick in its mouth and checks it out. It says, yeah, I can push some buttons here and get the thing going. Do. And pretty soon my mouth is running. And I'm thinking, you know, creating little action plans along the way. And then start to feel a little guilty. And anger looks back at the bench with character defect, says, hey, justification, come on in here. Let's make them feel like it's okay, you know. that they had it coming. You know the story. And so pretty soon I got this whole team of character defects. And how long does it take to create that team? About 5 seconds. Bam, I'm right there. My mouth is running and all of that. I had a friend of mine in recovery. He made me a 10-step bracelet. And on the bracelet, what he carved in it, it says, the first 5 seconds are golden. And so when I wore that bracelet, I still wear it sometimes. Uh, so what happens is when I get the irritation of feeling, I practice grabbing that bracelet. That's to stop from team building. It helps. It's just like a physical reminder. Now, if you're married, got a spouse, it's like football. Football has a specialty team. They don't have to wait for the team to get together. You blow a whistle, and the whole team comes in, and you attack your wife or husband or whatever, kids or whatever. The whole dang team comes in there simultaneously, see, and does it. But what's so cool is in that fear system, there's this little round disc. It's a spiritual disc. And so you have the ability in the fear system with all the team going is to get up and step on that disc. It's a spiritual disc in the fear system. And then that disc is called the pause. And the pause, it means stop your self-talk. Shut up, you tell yourself inside. Then it says, you ask God for the right thought or action, and it slowly starts to move that disc back out of the fear system into the love system. That's how we get back, you see, in there, if that makes some sense. So I have the ability to have access to both of these systems and to work on creating my time in the love system the best that I can. So then one of the things it talks about in the 10th step, what I'm going to dwell on that, but one of the things in the 10th step is I used to do a lot of analysis when I would mess up during the day. How can you be so stupid? What's the matter with you anyway? You're never going to change. And an hour will go by. There's no instruction in there says that you should analyze. That done at nighttime. That's where analysis takes place. And so, is it possible that you can make a mistake without processing guilt or shame first? I didn't know you could, but now I know it can be done. I didn't know it was that way because I was raised in a boarding school in churches and all this stuff, and everybody says what's wrong with you? You should be ashamed of yourself. Look at you, you're sinning again, all that kind of stuff that went on, little kid growing up. And pretty soon you see, I believe that sort of thing. And so what I've learned is I'm going through the day at 80 miles an hour, irritation or doubt pops up, ask God to remove it. That's what you should be. Keep on going. I don't analyze very little anymore in step 10. So it's to get right into 11. So at nightly, there's 13 questions in the nightly review. One, it says to do a constructive review. I think my first 5 years of sobriety, I did a destructive review. But I learned it meant a positive review. One of the reasons is the Creator designed the human being to learn by trial and error. So as soon as a baby is born, says, baby, you're going to have to learn to walk, but you're going to make 2,000 mistakes. And then every time that baby makes a mistake, us elders go, all right, you did it. Go on, do it again. And then pretty soon and they get up and they fall on their face, and we're just encouraging them. And then pretty soon you see them walking like John Travolta, down the hallway, getting it on. Somewhere along the line, that's changed for us. What we call this sometimes in our native way, we call this the red road. That's our name that we call but the spiritual walk. And I remember when I was first taught it, I was trying, I was making so dang many mistakes during the day in recovery. I was losing it, getting angry, telling people all kinds, and I was just really struggling. And Johnny Look Cloud took me in his backyard one day, and he said he drew a line in the road, and he said, or in his backyard, and he said, "I want you to walk that line." He said, "with one foot behind the other." He said, "I know you know how to do that because the cops taught you." I said, "Oh yeah, they did." Uh, and so I said, "Okay." So I would start to walk like that, and he's walking beside me, and he'd give me a big push. And I stumble off, and he'd say, "Get back on the line." And I get back on the line, walk, and I walk some more. Then he pushed me the other way. And he did that, I don't know, 7, 8 times. And that's the way he taught. And so anyway, he come back and he said, this spiritual walk through the steps, it's a road. It's not a line. He said, "You're walking a red line. I make a mistake. I got mad. I got angry. You're no good. You fall. You did. He said, the road is very wide. And he said, your character defects are actually sacred. Because inside of that defect is going to give you the knowledge of God's will. It's on the road. He said, when it goes way off here. So he drew a line on the outside of my footprint on the left and outside on the right. And he said, that's how you grow. You're designed to make positive mistakes, make corrections. That's how you were designed by the Creator. He said, that's how you do it. But he said, if you're stupid and you don't do that, there's ditches. He said, you can fall in the ditch too. Just don't pay attention. But if you do this work, he said, then you can. So I learned at night, I had to do this review. It took me years actually to do a nightly review for this reason. And I'm going to close. If you have a plate and at the end of the day, say you get 2 pounds of stuff on it, half a pound of selfish, a little bit of dishonesty, 3/4 pounds of fear, you have some stuff. So you got about 4 pounds first day. But let's say you don't do nothing with it. Then you come in the morning, you do the 11th step in the morning. Now you got a plate that's got some stuff on it. Then you're really spiritual. Yes, God to direct your thinking and 7 aspects, and you go with all this stuff. And at the end of the day, if you do nothing with it, you pick up 4 or 5 more pounds of this, and then now you got about 8 pounds of stuff on that plate, and you're getting really spiritual. So by the time Thursday comes along, you got about 15 pounds on that plate, and you're wondering, why are you irritated? Why are you doubtful? And why are you short-minded? And why does it seem God went somewhere or whatever? See, doing like that. So it's important to clean the plate, I found out. Just clean the plate at night. This isn't a big time-consuming thing here. You don't even have to think of what you should do. It's to answer the questions. They got to be answered. Then as you get through there, it says you ask for what corrective measures should be taken. Now you're set for in the morning or consider your plan for the day. So that's kind of my experience with step 11. It's about love and fear. It's about not looking, it's not looking what's wrong with us. Even forward, there will never ever be anything wrong with you. How often do we look at what's wrong with our bodies? The television tells all the women you're supposed to be like this, you're supposed to be like that, and then, oh, what's wrong with me? I got to get rid of that crap. There's nothing wrong with you. Exactly how you are, that's how beautiful you are. There's nothing wrong. You're beautiful. And you got to tell yourself that. Is how I see it, and the men too. You guys are pretty. No, I'm kidding. You're not. But anyway, we have to do, I guess it's that saying, love thy neighbor as thyself. And that's the problem most of us do. We got to learn to love ourselves. It's okay to love ourselves. And because sometimes we say, you hear in meetings sometimes, this is a selfish program. You know, the word selfish, it means over concern for oneself. It doesn't mean concern for yourself is selfish. That's healthy. You're supposed to take care of yourself. But if you do it, me, my, America first, and all this other stuff, that's selfish. It's a little bit different, but we should be taking care of ourselves. This is a beautiful program. So I'm just telling you your words didn't fall to the ground. This is what you guys have taught me so far, and I want to thank you and appreciate it. You and thanks for allowing me to share a little bit, Karen. So I'll turn it back to you.